got rid of the blue sky, and they're giving us now the silvery white sky with a little bit of color here and there, but not much. Not much to see. I just wanted the camera on that action to see what that was all about. There he goes. Okay. I was waiting to see what he was doing, so he went around the back of the building. He was investigating that couple. They went across the street. Take it easy, but they went across the street into Duncan, and I'm not gonna bother him. I was gonna go over and ask him what he got, what he was trying to nail him on. But I've been hearing shit like that on the scanner every day, anyways. Sometimes people are really stealing something, but that's far and few between. Mostly people are just being, I don't know if it's harassed, but I guess it is harassment when you're trying to strip people of their God-given rights, their natural rights, the ones that are supposed to be protected by your Constitution. Because it's over and over and over again, and they just keep doing this shit. They're not really that interested in anybody's rights. And I'm trying to look at all sides of it, you know. I'm trying really hard because, on one hand, you don't want people getting away with drinking and driving and hurting each other. That part, you know, we can understand, but that's far and few between. It's very, very few. Um, Majority of the accidents are just accidents. They're not caused by people that are drinking. I don't think I've ever heard one that's getting busted for a DUI around here. Any of the accidents, right? The accident happens. They collect everybody's information, but I don't hear anybody saying, "Okay, so I'm taking this one in because he's drunk," or what. I don't hear that shit. It's okay. Car one, car two, car three. This is what's happening with them. Here's all their information. Here's what they're. One's towing. One's coming to get their. Someone else is coming to drive it home. Here's who's going in an ambulance. That kind of thing. But nobody's really. Time is 1 o'clock already. Nobody's driving drunk when they get in these accidents. I mean, I'm sure there are. I mean, I see them on TV or I hear about them here and there. Um, but the thing is we all give up our rights because we're all being pulled over. So if my tire touches the line, that's reason enough to think that I might be drinking. And then if I got to go through a test, and then once you get through the roadside test, they could say, okay, well, you're blowing all zeros and you pass the test, but we still think that you're under the influence of something. So we're going to change it from alcohol to, you know, I get a smell of marijuana, or you got some white powder on your shirt. What's that all about? Or some shit, you know? Um, so yeah, we fucked it up, man. We fucked it up. Just like we do everything. Something that starts out to be a good idea, as usual, gets turned into a total fuck show. And there's not much of the skies to look at, really. So I don't know. I'll probably upload this one onto the Right to Reality channel, just as keeping an eye out on the auditing and keeping an eye out on things. A lot of stuff that comes over the scanner now, I get copyright strikes for that scanner. So that's another thing that I think is very strange, and why it's public information. It's not, they can go on a private channel, and they do a lot of times. A lot of times they'll say, "I'm calling you on your cell phone," or "I'm going to call this information. I need to talk to you about something," and they go onto the cell phone, assuming that when they do, they shut their body cams off. I'm sure. Um, Anyways, Yeah, there's not much to look at even in the sky, really. Guess I could put the camera on. I mean, I'd have to hold the camera and go looking around to find it all, and I don't feel like doing that ever. I never like doing that anymore. I just feel like I'm wasting my time. Nobody looks. Nobody looks anyway. So, digital collection of electromagnetic nanocarbon from the area we call these trees. I'm gonna put a red filter on if I can find it. Red filter. Wrong camera. There we go. And I'll probably shine a little bit on it. Get rid of all the surroundings. I guess that's all she wrote. Good enough. Okay, no, I'm just going to leave it there. Well, I talked about nothing. Like I always do. So I was saying in an earlier video, so Chili DeCastro, he just got 6 months, 8 months, something like that. Judge was an asshole. Prosecutor was a fucking bitch. His defender, his lawyer that he hired sucked. I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on. I mean, he knows enough about the judicial system to know that he needs a good lawyer to go in on these things. It just seems strange to me. I want to point out a few other things that I've been noticing about the auditors too, especially the asshole auditors, the ones that are truly assholes. And I'm not. I know that can sound confusing too because you think that if you're a bootlicker, you think all the auditors are assholes. If you're not a bootlicker, then you just think that the ones who swear at the cops are the assholes. I don't look at it that way. When you look at Direct D, yes, he may be a dick, but he has reason to be. The cops in Arizona are fucking scum. Probably more so than other states. Um, and more of them. There's less good ones that are going to speak out. Always looking for the good cops, man. It's hard to be a good cop nowadays. It's really hard. You're hired to break people's right, break the law, enforcing people's non-rights, convincing as a whole, the police in the United States, all the agencies for that matter, all convincing the Americans, at least in this country for sure, um, that we really have no rights to anything. Nothing. You have no freedom to speak because if you speak out, they come get you. Look what they did on, I don't want to say the date, but in January, right? January something. January, was it January 5th, January 8th, something like that. 7th, maybe? A big old nothing burger hoaxes up the ass. The person that supposedly died in that incident, we don't even really know if she did die. Her family's got CIA and military backgrounds. Um, a bunch of fucking lying motherfuckers everywhere you go. So it's hard to know who's telling the truth about anything. So a few other things that I noticed with the auditors is that, all right, the ones that do the town halls, you got Long Island Audit. Nice guy, I like him, but is he just a shell? Is he really? He seems so nice. He seems so sincere about his goals and his fight and everything. He seems so sincere. But I'll tell you what, to make a big deal out of the signs coming down in those places is kind of silly without looking at the rest of the picture. Yes, they taking down the no video signs, unlawful. They're changing their policies in these town halls and all this shit, right? By taking it's police departments and all this shit, right? They're all taking down their signs, and this is supposed to be something that people are supposed to celebrate. Well, it was a gag. It was just a fucking gag because if you go pay attention, every one of those places that has taken down the signs are all adding doors. They're putting up new doors. Places that used to be hallways that the public can roam no longer is allowed to go. The public is no longer allowed to go there without getting a sign off at the front desk or whatever. So now everybody's limited to the corridor. Anytime you walk into most of these buildings, I'm not going to say any or all, but um, all the ones that we're watching the auditors go into that are bragging about the signs coming down. Yeah, take the sign down. Big fucking deal, man. I mean, you just made it worse. Not that they made it worse, but it just got worse without you recognizing it, that it got worse. Really, you didn't recognize it. You didn't notice that ever since you guys have been auditing those places and taking those signs down, saying no videoing in this building and all that shit, it's just gotten worse. They've made more restricted areas, or what they do is they do public restricted. So in other words, the public can go back there if they're allowed to, if we allow them to. If you come up to the front and get a pass, if you give your ID, that kind of thing. So I don't see there's any benefit to it. I mean, it seems to me like you just fell down a trap. You just got caught up in another trap. It's shitty. Then the other thing I noticed about the auditors is a lot of them getting arrested, a lot of them going to jail. A lot of them that were doing this 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago are no longer around to do anything. Their final videos were years ago, and they're no longer doing it. And they were some really good auditors too. There was several women. I don't know their names because they don't have enough videos still up to know what's going on, and nobody knows where they are. Where did they disappear to? Were they also shills? Were they also lying motherfuckers who I'll move this around a little bit. Were they also liars who uh, got caught lying, just like the frauditor channels? A lot of them are agents that are just set up to keep everybody divided, right? They don't raise very many good points, the frauditors. The frauditor channels that are calling out auditors and calling them frauds, they have just as many subscribers, just as many views, just as many likes, just as well paid. It's all about entertaining everyone. So therefore, seeing that and that being so obvious, I have to be careful not to get caught up with the auditors themselves, because many of them also are agents. So they're put I'm not saying that Sean Reyes is a paid agent, just choosing one side or the other type thing, but he could be. I don't know whether he is or not. He could just be a very good actor. I don't know. So between tightening up the buildings, putting more signage in their parking lots, if you go to the post offices that have all been audited, they've all changed their signage and added signage so that people are not wandering around. That, you know how easy that is for them to do? And all they're doing is just restricting areas more and more, right? So you go to the post offices, and for 30, 40 years, they never needed a sign in the parking lot saying anything other than postal vehicles, federal vehicles only park in this lot, right? In this part of the lot, let's say, for example. In other words, the back of the post office. So everybody knew not to drive back there. Well, once the auditing started, okay, the sign says no cars parking. Doesn't say anything about me walking back there. So they take their cameras, they walk back there. Now, how is that fixed? In the moment, it makes for a good video for the auditor. They get all harassed, everybody's on them, a bunch of Karens, a bunch of Darrens, all that kind of shit. But then if you think about it, all they do the next time you go back months later, and now the sign says no public trespassing past this point, period. It doesn't say the vehicle signs are still up; they still stay. But then, in addition to them, now a sign that they never had to use before. They never needed to tell anyone to not go back there. Now they do. That doesn't mean if somebody's wife brings them lunch that they're going to get busted and stuff. No, of course not. They're just going to say, "What are you doing here?" Somebody, if they don't recognize them, so, "Oh, what are you doing here? Didn't you see the sign?" "Oh yeah, I'm just bringing Charlie his lunch." "Oh, okay." You know what I mean? They don't have to bust everybody. They can let people from the public walk back there, even if they don't work for the federal government. So we got a lot of that shit. So around my area, what I've been noticing is a lot of people's human rights being looked over, IDing everybody. You know, they ID the shit out of everyone, man. And the citizens in this town, they love it. They love being zombie slaves. They do. They do. Um, you can fuck them up, tax the shit out of them, unlawful tax them. It doesn't really matter. They love it all. Give me the tyranny or give me death. That's what they like. And I think those are the sarcastic signs I'm gonna put on my camera when I start doing my street audits. Because remember, my street audits are gonna be the trees, the rocks, the stones, the boulders, the clouds, the moon, right? And I'm just gonna be standing out in public doing videos of trees, rocks, and stones and shit like that. So what are they really gonna say? And I'm gonna do it in a way because I already do it. I've been doing it this way for years. I just never called it auditing. I'm just being sarcastic all the way around. So when people and I get a lot of shit over the years, because you got to remember, even though I only found the true creator 7 years ago, I I was already following the trails. I was, they used to call it trail chasing. Oh, you're one of those trail chasers? Yeah, I was. I was a fucking idiot. I was chasing them all over the place, going up on them. I did a lot of crazy shit like that over the years. But one of the funny things about it is when I look back on it all and think about it. I mean, I used to get shit all the time. I used to go to Cumberland Farms and have a coffee and I'd have the camera aimed up at the sky. Sometimes I'd take the telescope out on the road because from my house I would lose the moon, right? So I'd go downtown, put the telescope, and then you get people asking you questions and you start talking to them about it and then they are in total denial about it all. Um, that they go along with the heliocentric bullshit stories, obviously, because that's what everybody does. That's what everybody believes in. So they'll go along with that nonsense, and you can't argue with them. They'll call and say that I'm crazy. So I already learned not to act crazy. Tell them the fucking facts. Tell them is if they're factual, and leave it at that. If they want to deny it and continue, even though, because the thing is I'm showing it to you guys, and just like I'm always showing it to every. I used to show people the trails and bitch about the mineral streets. That was one of the things I would get all the time, and I found it amazing that people, human beings, could look up in the sky, see thousands and thousands of these trails all over their head every fucking day for so many days a week, and they'd see me every day with this camera aiming up there, and they would claim that they don't see it. They would use all kinds of excuses. Some examples: the sun is in my eyes. So they look up a little bit, and in other words, not even at the sky, just like towards the trees, right? And then they got their hands up. Oh, the sun hurt my eyes. I can't look. How can you look at the clouds? And that's why I invented the EMNC box, as if it's my invention. The um, the shadow boxes to take the sun out of people's eyes, and those shadow boxes are excellent because they do take the sun out of your eyes. It takes away that particular excuse, but it don't matter. There's still going to be hundreds of other excuses ready at the whim of why they're not going to look at it. So the next, so they'll deny it. They'll say, no, no, that's it's just a condensation trail. You're telling me that these thousands? What do you mean thousands of trails? They'll say to me, not thousands of trails. Yes, there is. If we stand here for 5 minutes and we count them, there's 10, there's 11 in 5 minutes, right? All in our view. They depending on the day, but sometimes they'll start dissipating. If it's day one of a trail session, then the trails will dissipate very quickly. But by day two, day three, then they start lingering longer, so you can actually see them for a longer period of time and you can see them better for the distances that they're running them. It's a buildup of these heavy metals and minerals in our atmosphere. That's what they're doing. So it's very simple to see and understand, but you gotta look. If you're not gonna fucking look and then tell me that I'm wrong, that it's not happening, I'm the fucking nut one. I'm the nut because I can see it and I'm acknowledging that it's right there. We can all see it. Are you telling me that you can't see it? And then they'll change that to, well, so what if you see it? So you're seeing some condensation trails. No, 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 no. Condensation. If you want to, now we're going to talk condensation trails. Okay, well, now let's look at temperature. Let's look at altitude. How high is it? What's the temperature outside? Because if you're saying these are ice crystals, water vapors, any of that kind of shit, then let's talk about that. Why are they lingering on day or two and day three of trail sessions? Why are the trails lingering if you claim? And also, what about the temperature? If the temperature is already, let's say, 110 degrees, and your jet engine is and it's humid, and give it some humidity so you can have some reason for this reaction, and it still doesn't work because the trails should be very short in your view. They shouldn't be going for thousands of miles back and forth and crisscrossing all over the place. Then you bring up to these zombie slaves and you could say, well, let's pull up the flight patterns then. We have technology. You're on your stupid cell phone watching stupid YouTube videos. So why don't you pull your phone out and pull up the flight patterns for this area that we're standing in right now? So they do. And then you can quickly and easily show them that they can only account for one or two of those jets that are going all over the place as coming out of the local airport or going into the local airport. So what about the rest of these fucking jets? Thousands a day. Because if you can count 10 to 12 of them every 5 minutes, and then the 5 minutes goes by, now all of a sudden you start seeing new streaks coming into the picture. So you start counting them, and then you got another 10 to 12. And you multiply that by the whole fucking hour, and then you multiply it by the day. And it's easy to come up with the numbers. And you say, holy shit. So on a light day, there are thousands of these trails being dumped on us every day. But nobody wants to look. They will not even acknowledge that it's happening. Everybody says, no, no, no. So I learned over the time, don't argue, don't act like a crazy person trying to over explain everything. They get it. Because, see, I used to be under the misimpression that nobody was going to understand what I was explaining or showing them. Nobody was going to get it. They get it. They fucking get it. You all get it. You're going to deny that you get it. You're going to hide from the fact that you get it. You're going to deny that you see it. Everything. The true creator's work, the false creator / creator. You're going to be in total denial because it goes against everything you've ever heard, learned, thought, taught, programmed. So therefore, it's natural that we all do this. This is part of the fucking scam shit system that I keep complaining about. And now I'm seeing it again with the auditors. Seeing the auditors crisscross with the frauditors. They all out there entertaining the shit out of everybody. Everybody